Well, a whole lot has been happening in the aviation sector. The story, and of course, we have also seen so many comments and complaints coming into our Twitter handle, as well as our mails, as the Yuletide, and for those that have imported or tried to bring in things into the country to use for the celebrations, they say, well, they're still having a headache getting them out of places around the airports. Well, joining us to look, amongst others, so many other developments in the aviation sector this morning is the Minister of Aviation, Osita Chidoka. Good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome. But this is rather the first time we're having you on the program since you assumed duty, so, and a whole lot has been happening. First, I think what people would want to hear is about this particular issue before we dovetail into other developments in the aviation sector, about passenger rights, about effectiveness of the operators, and what you have been doing since you assumed office. But this is the big news, and people are worried, knowing full well what kind of attachment Nigerians have for the Yuletide. And they say the businesses and those for personal use, they're stranded in your airports.
Thank you very much. First is, we have to put it back in context. The airport cargo terminals were closed because there were issues between the customs and the clearing agents. It had nothing to do with the airport infrastructure. It had nothing to do with the aviation ministry. It had to do between the custom, who is the major policeman for bringing goods into Nigeria, and the clearing agents. And the custom took the decision that the clearing agents have overstepped their bounds and decided to perform its regulatory function. And for me, on the aviation side, we supported them. We didn't ask for it. We just made sure we try to keep the apron as empty as possible. The support basically from me is because I believe that we're developing a trend in this country where every interest group, every club of, I don't want to call them union because they're not unions, have turned themselves into aggressive factors in any interaction. So if you want to stop a tanker driver, the tanker drivers block the road. If you want to talk to a clearing agent, then they stone the custom controller. No matter whatever be the case between them and any entity, they should follow the due process. They should follow the legal way. They can report them to the custom headquarters, they can go to courts, they can use any method, but it has to be lawful. And anybody who takes the laws into their hands, I will not reason with that person because it violates the basic tenets of democracy and civil society.
What if they had, what if they had made their complaints? Because the rumors are there that they were being asked to pay extra for things they had already paid for. What if they had made their complaint and they got no response over a period of time?
Then they can down tools as agents, not to take the law into their hands, not to stone anybody. Nobody in Nigeria should support anybody, not government, not private individuals. If government were to go into a place today and arrest people for persistently refusing to obey the law, people will protest. So what we need to inculcate in all of us is that there is a legal process for resolving issues, and people should follow it. Taking the laws into their hands negates the concept of modernity and society.
But again, as it is now, who suffers? That's what we should be worried about. As government agencies or parastatals, they should also think about the people, knowing full well that definitely, punitive measures must be meted out to people that have erred or gone out of way. But what about those at the receiving end, especially businessmen and women and family people?
Well, I feel very strongly that people, we should have that into consideration. But that should not be a consideration against violating the rules. We've seen the American government shut down government because the executive and legislature cannot agree on the budget, cannot agree on expenditure profile. We've seen the British government take on coal miners during Margaret Thatcher's time and stayed on strike for months on end to make the point. It's a country that needs to develop, and in spite of that, we must not always say because people will suffer, we won't do what is right. People should not be made to suffer. I'm one of those who feel that we can allow people to self-clear their goods. They don't need to have a clearing agent to clear their goods. We can put in place other measures to assist them, but the critical information is that, and I think the media must always continue to do that, a time must come in this country when we must on principle deal with issues. Many countries have dealt with issues that potentially brought pain to end users, but because it's on principle, the last American government shut down, almost all parts of American government and the federal government were shut down. People were told to go home. There were no salaries for people because the legislature and the executive, and of course, and during election times, the voters also make their mark. If you decide to make us feel the harm, you pay the price for it. But this is the way that society is developed. This is the way new rules of engagement come on. And I think that every opportunity we have to make the rules of engagement in Nigeria to be civil, to be democratic, we should use that opportunity.
I don't think that's the only solution, if you would agree with us, because sometimes we're quick to take examples from outside Nigeria, especially when it suits us as a people or a government, especially when the government is talking. I still want to see that a situation like this can be better handled to the extent that those that have erred, no one is saying it's an okay thing for you to take the laws into your hands, to even physically assault an official of government or a Nigerian. But when it has gone beyond those who were caught or enmeshed in that kind of violation, and the ordinary man in your village, my village, is not suffering, then we should have a rethink and see how we can rejig it and get some kind of direct punitive measures on those people that have made a mistake.
I totally agree with you. Could there be better ways to handle it? The answer is yes. Could we do something that will relieve the pains? The answer is possibly yes. But the point is that the fundamental issues was not intended to punish the end users. That must be made clear. But that in protecting the end users, I mean, that's the point I keep making. Every time we see somebody abuse a policeman, attack a policeman on the road, we're attacking the symbol and authority of the Nigerian state. And the effect of that over the years have begun to show in Nigeria. So when we see, as we see more violence in our society, as we see more things going on, we all watched as individuals, as people over the time degraded the capacity of the state. So my point is that the closure of the airport is not an option, or cargo terminals or seaports is not an option we should consider in resolving problems. But if that makes the agents think that this is a place where the government cannot go, well, the answer is hell no. The government can go that far. So, but I believe that going forward, it will not be the basic method. Everybody has understood. They too have understood that this can go this far. And I think now we have better rules of engagement at the airport. It's giving us opportunity to register all the people that use the airport. It's a nightmare to go through to the cargo terminal of the airport. Big nightmare. All kinds of people, all kinds of characters are given at the airport terminals. You see people lecturing around. No airport in the world do you come out and see the number of people that are accosted to you as you leave the international airport. So we must go to register those people. We must make sure that people who work in the airport are people that should be working there. We must make sure that those who are not supposed to work in, around the airport, who are tasked at the airport, must be taken out. And if they refuse to go, we then sanction them.
Now let's look at the state of infrastructure at the airport. I mean, at some point there was, renovation going on, expansion, it was same. Has work stopped?
No, the work has not stopped. Many people view the work. My point is, most of the phase 1 work started at the airport are more or less completed. Most of the phase 2 works are ongoing. There has been budgetary constraints in the scope of the work going on. So there's some prioritization in the completion. Many of them are quite advanced. So we're completing those that are 80% and above to completion. We're focusing on them to get them all up the way, and then go on to the most of the phase 2 projects and make sure they're completed over the next 1 to 2 years. So I believe that work is still going on. It will not be at the scale as it was when it started, because some of them has been done. If you go to the Musala Mohammed Airport, the expansion on the left and right has been done. Most of the retiling inside has been done. But there are still some things going on, so we are trying to make sure that we prioritize correctly.